Good afternoon. Welcome to the contact session for inclusive education and specific difficulties. This is an exam-based contact class. I'm your tutor, Ms. Regina Garises. Our objectives for this session is as follows. We are having 4 objectives. Firstly, we'll explore the prescribed study material. We'll go through different terms or verbs that are used to design the exam questions. Thirdly, we'll go through the type of questioning that is in the question paper. And lastly, we'll explore the format of the examination attached to different exit learning outcomes. Firstly, the prescribed material. Very importantly, your study guide. Your study guide is your first guide to show you, to guide you actually based on the exit learning outcomes, what you need to study and what you need to focus on. The textbooks that we also recommend are Landsberg, Reiser. Reiser, you can get the internet copy also if you go online, if you Google. Reiser R 2008, but there's also a new copy out of 2010. And then the sector policy on inclusive education from the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. And I will really much advise you also to consult other sources, or whether you go online and search for concepts and terms and how you need to understand those things. And further on, lastly, the reference material that you can find at IOL resource centers. Assessment policy. The assessment policy, it's based on a continuous assessment mark. So it means if you have qualified for the exams, then you had above 50% or 50 marks that you needed to qualify for the examination. Where the practical work is applicable, 60% is pass mark is required. But for us, we need to focus on the 50% pass mark that you need to get in the examination. And the other 50% comes from your assignment, which is a continuous assessment mark. The duration of the examination, it's 2.5 hours out of 120 marks. You need to get a final mark of 50%, calculated by the 60% of the examination mark, and 40% is coming again from your continuous assessment mark. So at the end of the day, in examination, you need to achieve a 50% and above mark that you need to attain in the examination. And very importantly, our examination papers are being moderated. We have external moderators that moderate our papers before it comes to you. That's in terms of assessment policy. Assessment criteria, it's almost the same as the assignment. We look at how you demonstrate the practical skills that are coming, also the knowledge and understanding that you are applying within the examination paper. Now the examination paper consists of 3 questions or sections. We have question 1, which is out of 30 marks. It's short questions that varies from 4 to 12 marks. Question 2 is out of 34 marks. Those are essay type of questions from 10 to 12 marks. And in question 2, you'll find also case studies that you need to answer. Question 3, it's out of 56 marks. There you also find essay type of questions, which varies from 10 to 20 marks, and there are also case studies in question 3. That's a format of the examination paper. Now, I want us to go through the questioning verbs, because these verbs will guide you what you need to answer. And I've seen that because you have seen a concept in the question, then you try to explain that concept. But what does the question verb say? What do you need to explain in that question? If the question says compare, then it means you need to look at the similarities and the differences that are there within that phenomena. If one asks to say compare inclusive education and segregation, then you need to compare those 2 concepts to say what is how does inclusive differ from the term of segregation. So very importantly, compare between the differences. Define is a very low level verb. It says you must give a precise, brief meaning of something, offering to a etymological roots of the concept. So it means you need to indicate the features of that thing. If one says define inclusive education, then you need to bring out the main features of that concept. Describe Describe asks you to provide a very detailed features of something, of status of process in the logical sequence. You need to use numbers and headings, and you need to use proper sentences when you are describing something. When you discuss something, you give a clear description, and then you argue both the positive and the negatives of that question that is given. When you explain something again, describe something, and you indicate a relationship between things. I'm running through this, but I really want you to go back to this presentation and understand the questioning verbs that are there. If a question is asking you to list or to state, then you need to present a list of names, facts, objects in a certain order that you need to do that. So list or state, it usually goes back to maybe if you ask the stages of the individual education plan, then you need to list that in order to say its first stage is identification, and then you continue with those stages if it's a list question. In the examination, now many of the students, when you are probing, when you are studying at the last minute, some of you already started to study because you have contacted me, but those who are waiting till 2 or 1 day before the examination that you are studying, you might get a blackout. But in examination, when you get the question paper, write down all the information that you remember for the questions that you have to complete, rather than worrying about information that you need to recall. So if a piece of paper with you, or on your answer sheet already, you can write some of the main terms that, or the catching phrases that you really need to remember when you're answering the question. On a scrap paper, use mind maps as quick as possible when you need to get information done. When you are answering the short questions usually take the form of a brief question or a prompt question that requires an answer that is normally no more than one or few sentences. So if an question is a short question between 5 to 12 marks, please don't try to write 2 pages or for that question. Keep your answers to 1 paragraph. Include keywords or phrases. Thirdly, organize your ideas logically. Fourthly, focus on the main points, keywords and ideas that will remind you, or that the marker might see, this learner is on thoughts. She knows how to answer the short questions. And answer the specific questions given. Do not just write down about what you know about the topic, but try to answer it. And sometimes you try to answer by giving me 2, 3, 4 paragraphs and trying to see I might get the answer in that paragraph. But this is a short question that you need to answer. Essay type of questions. These questions allow you to demonstrate the knowledge that you have. So you need to demonstrate in terms of what you know about this topic. So during the first 15 to 20 minutes of the examination, write down the relevant points as you go through the exam paper that you need to remember. Before you write it, analyze the question again. Look at the key words in the question before you answer the question. And then you write out the main aspects of the topic that is asked in that question. Very importantly, structure your points. And lastly, as a general rule, 1 paragraph, 1 point, separated by example, explanations and evidence. So you have really good examples in your classroom, so wherever you are, that you can also add it to answer that question. There are also case studies, as I mentioned earlier. These questions are based on a case study that is given. So it is very important to analyze and interpret the questions carefully. Look for the command words and specific words that will guide you what you need to focus on when a question is asked from the case study. Skim or read the scenarios to get a big picture. Read again slowly what is being asked. Underline words or numbers that relate to course concepts or indicate a particular kind of problem. Again, do not just look at the one word that might catch your eyes, but focus on whole words that it might give you a background of what is this case study all about. Let us move to the examination questions. Question 1. It's divided up into following asset learning outcomes. Define basic concepts and discuss models of special needs education. So if you go through the exit learning outcome 1, and these are also based on a specific exit outcomes that is linked to all the courses that needs to do this examination paper. So define basic concepts and discuss models of special needs education. Exit learning outcome 7 looks at the assessment approaches and issues for children who have learning difficulties. Exit learning outcome 5, again, explain the causes and techniques of working of learners with physical impairment. Exit learning outcome, I know there are so many different disabilities that are in that exit learning outcome. Try to do a mind map when you are studying this exit learning ELO 5. Look at the disability, write the courses, at least 5 courses, and at least 5 supporting techniques. Then you have an overall picture of what is going on with each and every disability. Still with question 1, exit learning outcome 4 talks about describe the aspects of child abuse. Then here, aspects of child abuse, so you need to analyze it, you need to name the types of child abuse. So go through that exit learning outcome very thoroughly, because it might give you a guidance. What are the main points that you need to focus on in that question? Question 2, we said it's essay type of questions and also a case study that is in this question. It looks at, again, basic concepts that you need to discuss and define, and also the models of special needs education. So within exit learning outcome 1, there are questions that come both in question 1 and question 2 that you need to define and discuss. Exit learning outcome 2, question 2, talks about discuss different international perspectives and legislations for protecting the rights of special needs individuals. The 2 main conferences that are mentioned in your in exit learning outcome, and the legislations that goes, or what laws were created when these 2 conferences were made or were taking place, and what are the significant issues that were coming out in these 2 conferences that we can say we can relate here in Namibia also, the decisions that were taken at those 2 conferences. Exit learning outcome 3, it's almost the same as exit learning outcome 5, which is again disabilities that you need to focus on. And here also it's about techniques of working with children with special needs. Again, look at the features. If one say features, it means what are the red flags? What gives you that you can pick up that this child is having problem with hearing or with visual impairment, and how can I support this child in my classroom? That's the focus of that question. Question 3 looks at exit learning outcome 2, which is the international perspectives and legislations for protecting rights of special needs individuals. And when you study through exit learning outcome 2, go back to question 2 again. Again, there are questions coming out from this exit learning outcome 2. There are different questions coming out that is both in question 2 and in question 3. Exit learning outcome 5, we are still at question 3. It's on, you explain the causes and techniques of working with children with physical impairments. So there, with the physical impairments, it focuses on also on the sensory impairments that are coming in, both the hearing and the visual impairment. Exit learning outcome 6, they will describe factors influencing the interaction of teachers with the families. What kind of factors are there? The cultural factors, the type of family that family is having. Is it a nuclear family, extended family that is within that realm of that learner, that is within that classroom, that influence the interaction between the teachers and the learners. When you are studying, I can advise you also to study in a group, that you can explain to each other how you understand these concepts, or when one says the factors influencing the interaction, then you can also explain that to your study partner. And lastly, exit learning outcome 8, it's on the system of IEP, the individual education plan for learners with special education needs. Now within the IEP, you need to explain the stages that are there. You need to explain what is the IEP. You need to explain to say for what is the IEP used for. How can parents get support through the IEP? How can I as a teacher get support through using the IEP? So try to explain around the whole working out of the individual education plan. It will feel excellent in outcome 8. So the focus here is on the IEP, the importance of IEP, how do I apply it, and what are the processes that are around the development of the IEP plan. That's now in terms of the examination paper. The contact details, my contact details are, my email is argarisis@gmail.com, cell phone number 0812714037. Please, no call me requests. At least send me a text message or an SMS, then I can get back to you. And contact time from Monday to Thursdays from 7 to 8, and Saturdays is from 3 to 5 o'clock. And for those who are sending emails, I'll try and answer you also during the time slot. So it will help if you can send your email already during the day, then I can try and answer the email evening time and get back to you. Those are my contact details. And I'll close off with the theme, or the catching theme that I always says, it's education is the greatest equalizer. So all the best of your preparation for the examination, and study well.